On this video, I'm going to show you how to tape for some wrist support. So what you're going to do is take your Kinesio tape or your whatever kind of athletic tape that you have that's stretchy, and most of them come in the pre-cut strips. So what I did was I took a pre-cut strip, and you're going to need two pieces. On your first piece, you're going to cut it about 3/4 down, and then you're going to split it in half. So that's what I've done here with this piece, was I cut it about 3/4 and then I split it in half. The next part that's important is making sure when you cut it that you round the edges so that these edges are rounded. A rounded edge doesn't peel up quite as quickly as a sharp edge. And you're going to start off with these two pieces. You need one more piece, and so what you're going to do is you're going to cut about 3/4 of a piece. I'm going to use the very end part of that, and you just want to make sure that you're rounding the edges with that as well. So you'll have a piece that looks like this. The big part about this piece is you don't want it to what we call tourniquet off your wrist, and you're going to slap this piece right here. So, and we're going to pull it. So you want it to measure about halfway around your wrist when you do this piece right here. And here I'll throw it to the white side so you can see it just a little bit better. But we're going to start off with these two little pieces here. So what I do is I tear and I break the piece of tape off on the back side, and then I'm going to do my right wrist. And what I've done on my wrist is I've marked right here. This is called your ulnar styloid process. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go around this guy right here, this little wrist bone, and then I kind of need to know where my wrist is on the other side, where that joint is. And if you're not sure, if you bend your wrist back, you'll find where that crease is, and those are your two spots that you need to note. I'm going to start the tape, and I'm going to go on the inside first, and I'm going to put the piece of tape down right behind my middle knuckle there. Okay, and what I want to do is rub the piece of tape real good. That adds friction, that adds heat, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to try to peel back the paper almost all the way to the end, and then I'm going to hold it so I'm not holding the tape. Then what I'm going to do is lift my hand up, and I'm going to pull pretty good, and I'm going to wrap it right below where my wrist line is. So you can see I'm coming right below where my wrist line is. And then I'm twisting my hand so I don't have to move my other arm quite as much. And then I'm going to apply it down on my forearm. Okay. The second piece, I'm going to do the same thing but on the opposite side. So I'm breaking the piece of tape off again. And then I'm going to sit here and I'm going to put it right above where my knuckle is. Or right above where the knuckle is, right on that other piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and rub it pretty good so that it stays on. And then I'm going to pull it that way on this one. So I'm going to go, again, below where that bone is that sticks out here, and then I'm going to turn my wrist and lay it down, and then they'll cross on the other side. So I'm pulling this piece of paper back, and then I'm going to pull with some pretty good, about 40 to 60% of what I could pull. I'm going to go below that wrist bone, and then I'm going to turn my hand over, and I'm going to cross coming up the forearm. Now I want to make sure that this lays down, so I've got to rub it down a little bit, and now I feel pretty supported on that wrist. I'm going to do one more piece, and this piece is going to be a little bit harder to lay down. We're going to take this guy right here that we cut earlier, and we are going to fold it in half, and then we're going to break the piece of paper in half. So this is a little harder to put down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back on each side and fold it so I have some open space. The goal is to do here and lay it down, but I can't do that to myself. So if you have somebody doing this for you, what they're going to do is they're going to open it up, put it directly on top of your wrist, put it down with all that tension, about a max pull tension if I can get it, and then just roll the pieces on the other side. But I'm going to show you a version of that to do yourself. It's a little bit harder, so what we're going to do is try to pull it apart with our fingers, like this. So we're going to pull it apart with our fingers as much as we can. And then I'm just going to lay it down barely on the outside here. Now I've got a little bit of an anchor, and I'm rubbing it down. And then I'm going to max pull inside just to the edge of the wrist, and then I'm going to lay this piece of tape down. Same thing on this side. I'm going to give it a little bit more tension, and then I'm just going to lay it down. So I pulled it just a little bit more, pulling that paper off, and then I'm going to lay it down. And you can see we didn't tourniquet off on the other side, but we have this nice piece right here, and it's giving me a lot of support on my wrist. Just make sure that you don't have an allergic reaction to the tape. You want to make sure it doesn't itch or anything like that. If you notice some redness around the edges of the tape where your skin is, especially on this side of your forearm, please take note of that, and you may want to remove the tape at that point and ask your healthcare provider for how long to leave the tape on and abide by the tape guidelines.